Man, those guys, like, honestly, I see, you know, Brandon play. By the way, we've got good mic levels. Brandon, Ewan, incredible player. Jesse, we know the guy can shred. But did any of you know Albert? Albert's the guy, the third guitar player in the launch video. Did any of you have any idea that Albert, hey Mike, great to see you, mate, that Albert could shred and riff it up? Like, I had no idea. I presumed, yeah, he can probably play a bit. You know, he's the head tech at Kiesel. I'm sure he can play a bit. But he grabs the Jason Becker guitar and just starts ripping it up. And I see the footage, I'm like, whoa. Yo, Des, hey you guys. Great to see you, everyone. Let's check. Okay, we've got everything we need here. We've got keyboard and mouse, we've got comments. I can read your comments because I actually have glasses on today. Hey Arthur, great to see you. Mike, Sean. We're multi-streaming today. Obviously, most of the focus is on YouTube, but I'm also streaming on a couple of other platforms. Why not? I don't stream a huge amount these days, so Mark's already sneaking in a little stream. Looks like over on Twitch he's at work, but he's got that stream in. Look at this, guys. We got Tim Hutch in the chat as well. Did any of you guys also check out Tim's video yesterday of HyperRig Kiesel? What a day it was yesterday. Hey, Darren. What a day. Absolute chaos in the best possible way, as launch days usually are. And I've got to say, for me personally, I feel like a slight, well, actually not just a slight, but a lot of relief, as I can now show you HyperRig Kiesel. I can start jamming with it. I can start recreating my live stream sessions, but using more tones from HyperRig Kiesel. So today, since we launched it yesterday, I thought we'd have a little bit of a kind of overview going through the plugin. I want to give you some tips because obviously we've been very close to it for a long time, and everyone here will be pretty much brand new to it. And if you're coming from the McRocklin suite, then there's some key differences for how you go about dialing in your tones, how to get the best out of HyperRig Kiesel, and that's what I want to jump into today, as well as answer any questions that you might have about HyperRig Kiesel or anything else guitar related and polychrome related. So yeah, I'm excited. If you haven't already checked out the free demo, you can head to polychromedsp.com, grab a free demo. I'm sure I have a button. There we go. Yeah, so I also, I was in other news, I was cutting some bread yesterday, giving it, you know, homemade bread, fantastic. And I sliced into my finger, so I'm playing with a bandaged up first finger. It feels very very tight, as in my finger is locked into place. So I expect lots of rough notes. Where can I find? I'll find a polychrome shirt. You know, we promised we will get back on the merch. We will get back on that. Yeah, that's it's something that we really explored a lot last year, and then the development of HyperRig Kiesel and everything else just took over. But yeah. Yeah, are we in sync? Yep. So whilst we think about diving into some screen sharing and stuff, first of all, Kiesel, HyperTune, what is it all about? What is it? So obviously it's an official collaboration between Polychrome DSP, me and Luca and the team at Polychrome, and Kiesel Guitars. It's an official product, and they had a lot of insights on how it should sound, you know. My favorite feedback was like, hey, we're blasting 5150s and this sounds better. And I'm like, well, we're right in the right direction now. This is great. And then the clean amps and the pedals and the effects. So they had a lot of ideas on what they wanted for the overall tone and sound and feel. And it was really, really great kind of working with the guys, in particular Brandon. But obviously, Kiesel themselves have been heavily involved with steering it and just making sure it stacks up, because Kiesel, no tone, you know, you just, you know, they're obsessed with guitars and tone woods and feel, and they know everything how a guitar should sound. And I think this is going to give their customers a lot of consistency, because they sell these amazing instruments. You know, you pick a Kiesel guitar up and it's super inspiring, and like, well, you've got the guitar, what do you do for the tone? Well, now you have HyperRig Kiesel. So once you have that guitar, you plug it into HyperRig Kiesel, and that is your ultimate sound, your tone experience. It's the ultimate tone experience that you're going to get. So lower the background, absolutely. Yeah, let me, I'm not quite as hyped as I was Saturday night when I was absolutely screaming at Hutch unboxing his guitar. There we go, it's nice and low now. So right away, this is a great question. Thomas, how does this differ from the original Polychrome setup? So one thing that you have to understand is Polychrome DSP is simply the brand. Think of it as Mercedes. You have an A-Class, a C-Class, you have all these different cars. So you wouldn't necessarily go, hey, I bought Mercedes and they've released another Mercedes, where's the Mercedes? Mercedes is just the brand, and then they release all these lines. Polychrome is the brand, so there's no such product as the Polychrome. Polychrome is the brand, and our very first product was the McRocklin suite, and then Cryboy, and our third product is HyperRig Kiesel. So it's really important to kind of get that, first of all, that understand that Polychrome is not the product. Polychrome is the brand, okay? Because that, I think, you know, because we spent so long updating the McRocklin suite, because we just went nuts on it, really, you know, from 1.0, the small updates, to Sonic Empire 1.2, and then Ground Control 1.5. We went absolutely wild, you know. We probably went more wild than we should have. But it's done now, and we're not even finished with the McRocklin suite. And that's just absolutely wild, you know. Yeah, that makes sense? Great, yeah. And if you guys, you know, do me a favor, if you spot anyone with that confusion, now that we all know, then please correct people, you know, because they think, hey, I bought Polychrome, but there is no such thing as I bought Polychrome. All right, let me check my phone because, okay, we're good. All right, why don't we, this is gonna mount up quick, and I'm gonna jump into some real world examples of like tones and how to set it up, and I'm also going to do a pretty cool little shootout with a hyper tune as well. So why don't we add a Q colon just like this lovely guy has done, because in a few moments time I can search for all comments with Q colon, and that'll make it a bit easier for me to go back. So why don't we do that? Not until you guys go public. Maybe another year or two. Yeah, but to answer Arthur's question, how does it differ? How does HyperRig Kiesel differ from the McRocklin suite? So the first thing is pretty much everything is different and new. You know, starting off with the very first amps. The very first amp even, Maple. It's impossible to get this tone. Let me turn off the music now and just literally use the first preset that was loaded up. It's ballad clean, okay? It's impossible to get this tone. That's just an amp. Obviously it's got chorus, reverb, and delay on it, but that amp, which I'm gonna strip it all back and just show you all about Maple and Carbon and Infusion. I'm gonna show you through those amps. But fundamentally, that particular clean tone, impossible with McRocklin suite. And then Carbon has a different approach to the sort of crunch and shred tones, and same for Infusion. So the amps fundamentally feel very different, but there's also some fundamental differences in terms of how you might go about setting up tones as well. You know what, Alec? That's such a great question as well. I've been using this guitar a lot, and don't worry, when I tested HyperRig during all the heavy development, you know, we tested it with Ibanez, Gibson, Fenders, all the guitars that I had, all the guitars that other people that were alpha testing and involved with the development. It was tested with a wide range of guitars, which is to say, actually, HyperRig Kiesel is not just for Kiesel guitar players. It's a phenomenal plugin. And oh, hi, Stephen, great to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Everyone, the real Stephen Ward is here. And look at that. Hi, Greg. Rad Brad as well, and Chris. Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, so I'll come back to that, Chris, in just a second. But yes, as Polychrome mentioned, put Q so I don't miss your comments or questions with a specific Polychrome or HyperRig Kiesel question. Please put Q colon And that way, when I search for all of those questions or comments in a few minutes, I can go back to them and answer them more thoroughly as opposed to just darting right in. But yeah, so HyperRig Kiesel, obviously different amps, different effects, different tone. But one thing that you're going to notice is as soon as you turn it on and plug your guitar in, it sounds really, really great with all the settings at noon on the amps. You don't need to work very hard in terms of going to jump into the EQ section to sculpt out the mids and stuff. With just the amps and the speakers, you can get great tones like right away. So why don't we kind of start jumping into some of that stuff so you can actually hear and see exactly what I'm talking about. So let me check here. Yeah, let's dive into it because I'm really excited to show you guys. So I've got a question for you guys. What view do you like better? Do you prefer this view? Let's have a look at this kind of picture-in-picture style view. Well, this is like an overlay view, I guess. And then the other view, not that, maybe this, kind of like that. But maybe instead of sharing the chat, obviously I'll share my window. So you guys like that better? Let me get the software up on display and then you'll see. Because right now you're seeing your own comments. Like Inception. So what do we want to screen share? We want to screen share live. Lovely live. How does that look if I just kind of bring that in? That looks like it kind of works, right? Get a little bit smaller so we don't miss any of that UI. That works okay. Yeah, that Sean, that looks like a big screen. Okay. Yeah, does that work for you guys? You can see that pretty good. It looks like on my preview monitor, it looks okay. But we can change it up to the other view if we want to get funky in a little bit. So let's go back to the default preset. Everything just at noon. The first amp you get is Carbon. That right there is just like a great crunch tone. But I want to kind of go through it a little bit more in sequential audio, sequential order actually. Yeah, keep adding those Q colons, guys, to the questions, and I promise I will search for all of those questions in a little while. So just a little overview of the layout of the plugin, because if you're used to the McRocklin suite, well, you see the navigation icons are built into the amps, and now they're down the bottom. But some cool things that we did with this plugin is we give you the ability to disable any section. So that's amazing if you just want to use Hypertune by itself with something else. Or maybe you want to use the reverb if you're a vocalist, because the reverb sounds incredible. It's a beautiful sounding reverb. You're a vocalist, you play violin, and you want a great reverb. Now you can disable the amps and everything just by double-clicking on the sections at the bottom. So fundamentally, the navigation has changed in terms of now you have the amp selections in the amps themselves, and the navigation for the plugin is down the bottom. You can still click on the polychrome logo and access some other settings up here, such as the settings and size, or you can do them down the bottom. Okay. All right, look at this. We've got some chicken shawarma chat. Guys, if you want to distract me, you're going to start talking kebabs. That's going to get this is going to go out of hand real quick. It's going to get out of hand rather. All right, so I saw as we were just lining up, I saw a question that was about, I want to see more about Maple, you know, kind of breakup. And I think it was just as we were setting up to go live. So let me show you Maple, everything just default. So at the default setting with gain at 5, it's going to be very hard to make it break up. You can still get a bit of sort of funk on it. But it's very hard to make it break up. So all of the action for Maple, in terms of making it saturate a little bit, really kicks in about 8 onwards. And as you get into like 9, if I just back the master down and... I'm going to change key because I shouldn't be using my first finger to slide around a bit. So I'm going to use A. So once we get to the back end of the gain, especially going all the way dialed in at like 10, I mean, that with like a little bit of room, like I love that. It's just so in the room feeling. It's really, really cool. And it's just got an amazing feel about it, you know. Maple was one of the first amps that we developed for this product. And I remember as it started to come together, I was playing more and more and more, and it's just wonderful. I mentioned this in my overview video, but it really took me back to the time when I was just starting to play guitar for the very first time as a kid, and you know, that wanderlust exploring how your guitar sounds in an amp, and everything was new and exciting. It really reminded me of that somehow, some way. Let me just go back to that view. So yeah, Maple is really, really great at very, very high headroom clean tones. So if we just try, you know, some of the factory cleans, like Alone in a Room. Well, I'm going to save hypertune for a little bit. Oh yeah, that first finger, when I try to bend it there, yeah. It's just a little bit out of action, so the cut's not too bad, but I'm very limited on range. I just found out what my limit of range was. Let me try. Just a great clean. So obviously that is using a little bit of chorus. The new chorus obviously is a brand new chorus. It's not just like, oh, we have some kind of chorus and we'll pop that in there. Every little aspect of this is brand new. So there we go, 2 different modes. The classic mode is more like your traditional Roland Juno style stereo chorus, like. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that with a long reverb tail, that's like instant, the beginning of a sort of synthwave track. Just really, really cool. So clean, it's just so versatile. I mean, you can really get it to rock out. Like if we dial into some of these, yeah, I know the reverb with the swirl. We tried lots of different finishes with these, and once we landed on the green splatter effect and the pink swirl, we're like, yeah, that's the one. Let's try some of these breakup presets, because then we'll get to hear the other side of Maple. And what's really interesting about this one, I talked about this also in my overview, but I want to show you a little bit about this, because Shape EQ is really, really cool. Going back across many, many years of guitarists, a lot of players would traditionally have an EQ as a stomp pedal on the floor, and they would use it to just smash more level into their amp. Almost like a boost pedal or an overdrive. But what's really cool about that is, depending on the frequencies that you send into your amp, you get your amp to behave in a totally different way. So with this simple little switch down here, you can go from post to pre. And in this case, we're really sending all these lower mids and bass frequencies. And it's just got this like very alive, and I've got the speakers really low here in the room, so I'm not getting like speaker push here. This is all just the plug-in giving me that feedback. And it's just really, really a great way of using Shape EQ to really push any of the amps. So definitely spend some time to get that sort of fully understood, if you like. Yeah. Okay, let's try one or two more from the clean here. And then, yeah. So we've tried our, I guess, more vintage sounds. But this is using a lot of compression, also using the EQ, Shape EQ on pre-mode. But now you can see we've got a lot of output coming from the compressor. We've dialed the gain back a little bit because we've got so much compression. And we're also using a little bit of boost to add that little bit of grit, you know, which is really cool. So if we... Very difficult to use that first. It feels like I'm playing with a flat ruler. Yeah, very hard to do hammer-ons out of nowhere. So hopefully in a day or two I can take this off so I can get that first finger bent. But yeah, you really kind of... Very, very over the top. But there's presets for everyone, you know, so that's a cool thing. So whilst we are at a little bit of a break where we're going to maybe look at carbon, let's have a search through some of those questions with Q colon. And let me do that right now. Search Q colon. Oh, it's firing it into the chat. We don't need that. Okay, so have not seen. Oh yeah, I did see Philip McKnight's scallop guitar. Looks pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so Sean was asking. There seems to be some people thinking that this is similar to the McRocklin suite, so they're not inclined to purchase the new plugin. At some point, can you give it some major? Oh yeah, I think we got into that earlier. Yeah, so completely different amps and feels, speaker chains, the effects are developed specifically for HyperRig Kiesel. Obviously, HyperRig Kiesel also introduces HyperTune, the world's fastest transposer. Very accurate. In fact, I'll show you HyperTune maybe next because that is absolutely wild. And there's 312 brand new tones from the staff at Kiesel, the artist at Kiesel, myself. I did a ton of presets for it, as well as the Polychrome team. So yeah, there's something for everyone, but it's very, very cool to play and to feel, I think, is the biggest thing you're going to notice. Yeah. Okay, here we go. McRocklin Suite, is the McRocklin Suite going to get some of the features such as HyperTune? Absolutely, at some point the McRocklin Suite will be brought into line. Obviously, the McRocklin Suite is absolutely feature stacked. It's a heavily stacked plugin. And I think the one thing that would complete that plugin for sure would be HyperTune. So yeah, we'll work on that, and it will be another great free update for the McRocklin Suite customers. Carlos is asking, which amp drive settings are best for edge of breakup? That's a great question. In fact, let's take a second on that, because with Maple, you can really push it either way. You can go very classic, very open and high headroom, boutique clean, or you can get it raunchy. We didn't really try it very much with a boost pedal. So for example, we just load up Maple, turn on the boost, turn down the drive. You know, we're just going to tickle it, play around with the EQ and add a little bit of room. And without thinking too much about it, let's hear what we have. Push that gain a little bit hotter, or we can go back to the pedal, smash a bit of bass, a bit more level. Let's bring down the master volume and push the push up. Maybe give a little bit more gain from the amp. Not loads, but a good amount. So you can hear that it's very, very raunchy. And by the way, this is just using the first speaker section, the first speaker on the speaker section. So as we go through those chains, so, by the way, just by doing this, I would not advise just jumping from speaker to speaker to speaker like that and making quick decisions, because on the speaker chains, just like the McRocklin suite, some frequencies are basically left in there on purpose, like extended top end, extended bottom end, because we want to give you the control of, hey, I'm using an electronic track, there's lots of hi-hats going on, and I want my guitar to be more smooth sounding. So I immediately would go to the filters, roll off some top, roll off some bottom, but you want to have those frequencies there in the recorded chain so you can make that decision yourself. And that's a very important thing. You know, you'll see a lot of presets in here. If we go to, I don't know, just a random factory lead, typical, that one has no filtering at all. Although we've rolled off a lot of, but you can see forge lead. You can see there, we've got a lot of filtering. We've got, give it everything. There's a lot of filtering done on these presets, and if you're just loading amps and then you're reaching for the EQs, I would recommend reaching for the filters first, and then, okay, I like that sound, I like where that's going, I just want to tweak it to taste. And you can use the mastering EQ or shape EQ in the post mode for that. So that's a great question about amp breakup, and you can also use the EQ in pre-mode to push more signal with this level here into the amps as well. But what's really cool though is if we find a preset called Infusion Magic, yeah, you can kind of see what I've done here. I've taken the most high gain amplifier that we have, and I've put the shape EQ in front of it, but look, the level is minus 18 dB. Hey Pat, great to see you. JB here as well, hi. So what that's doing is, it's using Infusion, our highest gain amplifier, as a clean. So it just shows you how incredibly versatile these amps are. So initially, if you're playing around with this plugin, you know, we've spent like literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours with this plugin, so we kind of know these little tips and things. So this is why I'm very, like when people try it for like 5 minutes and they don't really get to the sort of full depth of it, it's like, just spend some time with it, because it's absolutely incredible, you know? Or it can totally do Eric Johnston smooth leads. You know, if you go to the factory and you go like, look for, there's actually presets called, I think, smooth something. Sorry, I'm on the rhythm, I should be on the lead. Smooth guy. It's a very, very smooth lead. That is very early Eric Johnston. And if you wanted to make that even smoother, you could simply roll back more of that filter. Just really, really easily. And if you wanted to add a little bit more bass, you can come over here, add more. But these tones are mostly ready for like you put them on a track and they're just ready to go. So I did say we'd jump into HyperTune, and I want to show you a couple of things that I think are very, very cool about HyperTune. But before we do that, let's just jump back to the chat, and I'll have a search through more questions. Look at the man behind the magic of the new transposer. There's a mystical man. He's in the galaxy somewhere. And he's got the command of 1,000 men. And it was those 1,000 men that forged the transposer that is HyperTune. It was a big team effort, I tell you that. A lot of magic in HyperTune. Yeah, it's amazing though. You've got to try HyperTune. Let's go, maybe do 2 or 3 more questions from the Q colons here, and then I'll get back to the real-time chat. Are the Kiesel amps in polychrome based on the old Carbon things? All these amps are brand new head designs. Some of them, like Carbon, have a little influence from modern high-gain amps, for sure. You know, they were referenced against real amps that you would buy in music stores, like 5150s and whatnot. But for the most part, they were all custom designed in terms of how we approach amp design. And these are all brand new approaches as well, exclusively for HyperRig Kiesel. So there's some familiar tones for sure, but we're not trying to make them to be exactly like this amp and like that amp and like that amp, you know. Okay, yes, if you're new here, pop a Q colon in the chat. Does a Carbon serial number count for a Kiesel discount? It goes pretty far back. There's like about 40,000. And if you're struggling, you know, I'm sure if you give us a shout on Discord, we'll be able to sort something out, you know? What's next for Polychrome? Alec, maybe a holiday? Poor Luca, poor me. I mean, I'm all right. I'm sitting here for hours and anyway, you know? But like, mate, some of the hours that we've been just working and working, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we took at least 48 hours off after this weekend. Oh gosh, okay. All right, I see there's a bunch more questions. We'll come back to them in just a second, starting with, will McRocklin Suite have update to load IR? Some things we already know what will be in McRocklin Suite 2.0, and we're not sure on some of the ones, so maybe that's something we'll chat about. But I said we would do a little bit of a deep dive on HyperTune. And yeah, so HyperTune, what is it? It's a transposer, but it's a transposer probably like you've never heard before. So I'm going to load some presets, but then I'm going to show you some pretty interesting stuff, and I'm going to do a little head-to-head with, I don't know, maybe a neural transposer, and show you the subtleties and the differences that really set HyperTune apart from anything you've tried before. So, I mean, first of all, what you're going to love about HyperTune is the fact that when you riff with it, you're doing all that chuggy stuff, you're doing shred. It's like the same feeling. There's no lagging behind. There's no, oh, that sounds good, I think, but I'm being off-put. You know what we're like with latency. We have such high standards when it comes to latency, and that's why we never bothered putting in many of the other transposers that we played around with and developed until HyperTune was just absolutely the best possible transposer, bar none. So the first thing you're going to notice when you start drop tuning, it doesn't matter if it's down 7 or down an octave. Let me put the split on because I love those sounds. You play as fast as you want, you pick as hard as you like, and it's right there. It feels exactly the same time. There's no like lagging behind. So that's one thing. It's the feel that is just like blisteringly fast. And I love that because I hate latency. Okay. But when it comes to the clarity and the most accurate part of our claim, if you like, I'm just going to load a clean preset, okay? And I probably shouldn't really do this, you know, on a live, but you know what? It's just me and you guys, why not? So let's load the first preset and, you know, put a little chorus on it, see how that sounds. Okay, pretty cool. I'm still not able to bend that first finger, and I love chords with a lot of dissonance, and a lot of chords with a dissonance require you kind of move your finger around, so this is super annoying. I'm sorry if it's affecting my playing, but there we go. So let me go close this down for a second, and I'll search for a plugin. And I'll make sure it's one of maybe their latest plugins, like PlentyX or something like that. In fact, let's just go with that. Oh, okay. I'll drag in PlentyX, okay, and I'll disable everything on this plugin, and I'll turn the gate off. So what I have down the bottom here is Archetype PlentyX, and then right above it, I have HyperRig Kiesel, okay. So yeah. So basically, when this button is on, that's going to turn on. She'll go with 7, so it's a big amount. Go down 7. And when this is off, it's completely off. The only thing that this plugin is doing when it is in front of your plugins is because it's a neural plugin or an STL and anything else, it's going to add additional latency. You can just see when we hover over that plugin. Oh, you can't see on your screens, but it's adding like an extra millisecond. But you know, we'll get by with that. So this is no transpose. Go classic. All right, so we're going to match it. We're going to go down 7. And this is the sort of interesting bit. I talked about this on my overview video. If you try like playing some harmonics like this, playing some harmonics. I'm just gonna make this a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna turn on the archetype one. So what are you hearing? Oh, there we go. What are we hearing here? Just 4 notes. We're hearing the what? Yeah, exactly. You've got it, Sean. So if I just turn off that plugin and I drop hours down 7, and I play exactly the same chord. Put an extra note. If I go back to the harmonics, and I turn hours back off, and I turn on this guy. You're hearing that? Yes, it's... Oh yeah, there. It's like old cassette wobble, yeah. Like I know, like you're like, oh, I don't play like chords like that, but I play chords like that a lot. Like that chord right there, D flat. You hear this kind of like jitter and you know, like this wobbly effect and stuff. And with Hypertune, we just get. Let's just jam around and go back and forwards for a few seconds. Oops, sorry, I turned the plugin off here. you hear like the brrrr. So yeah, so like stuff like that kind of makes it, yeah, it makes it a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I would want to use that on a record. And for me, I'm always on the point of view, well, if you wouldn't want to use it on a record, then there's no point in including it, you know? Like if you put Hypertune on and just drop it 5, put some reverb on that and delay, I mean, I feel like I wouldn't really want to grab a guitar that's down 5. I'd just use this. And sweeping and playing fast just feels really, really responsive, you know. So that's what we mean by the most accurate. Very hard to kind of do without a sort of full setup like this, but you know, you get the idea. That's what we're looking at. And the cool thing is, as soon as you just delete that plugin from in front of HyperRig, your latency just goes bang back to like the speed that it is, because we're around 70 or so % faster than the other plugin in terms of amps and just overall feel. And the transpose is around about 30 or more % faster as well. So when you put those two figures together, that's where it becomes like, oh, okay, I really get that, you know, it's just like instant. And that's why when you load presets like dirty bass and stuff like that, like these are just, oh, let me turn the plugin back on, sorry. If you could slap, you know, I can't really slap so good. I could do like a hybrid slap, like a pick and a pluck, but I'm not really like very good like that. But you can tell it's just like, it's got this really natural, cool sound. Anyway, Hypertune will be huge in the guitar room. It's just the best in the world. Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind. Yeah, a lot of you guys that's been playing with the plugin since we launched it yesterday have already been messaged me on Instagram in particular about Hypertune, and it seems that you love it a lot already. So that's great, you know, because you know we always said we wouldn't put something in a product unless it was just like the best in its class. So yeah, okay. So I did say we'd go back to some of these questions, and we talked about maybe answered this question: will McRocklin Suite have an option to do IR loading, I guess? So it's possible, and I think it's quite likely, is what I'll say to that. Certainly it's going to have Hypertune, and it's quite hot in here today. I realized before the live stream started that the nice fan that I have there, I unfortunately took it out of this room the other night, and I was just looking for it, and I'm like, why is it so hot? I'm just like, there's no fan on in here, that's why. You just made the other plugin companies obsolete. Listen, I mean, to be fair, there's some great guys out there. You know, we're in a competitive industry, but we're trying to do our very, very best. But you know, we definitely appreciate some praise now and again. You know, but you know, we just want to do an amazing job for you guys. You know, because like it is the future, isn't it? Guitar tones. For me, I would never go back. My next show, if I did a live show, it would be a laptop, HyperRig, McRocklin Suite. That's the future for me, and I think for a lot of guitarists, you know. So we want to make sure that we just do an incredible job and nothing is compromised in terms of like we just overdevelop everything until it's the best it can possibly be, and whether it's the amps, the effects, the EQs, and you get something really, really great out of it. Sorry if this question is from a little bit earlier. I'm starting to catch up on Q colons. So if anyone has a question that you're up to date on chat, Q colon, I will try to get to those questions. For someone who never plugged his guitar into his PC and used plugins, what would you suggest for a low audio interface? Some of the lowest audio interfaces, the lowest latency audio interfaces you'll get, unfortunately, are a little bit more expensive, like RME, you know, like a Babyface Pro. But those type of interfaces for sure are incredibly low latency. The PreSonus Quantum series, incredibly low latency. I'm talking like 3 to 6 milliseconds, you know. And bear in mind, we run it like not even 1 millisecond. So you put that all together and it feels faster than maybe a Fractal or equivalent modeling device, because they all have a little bit of latency and process lag and stuff in them as well. It's just not a lot, but it feels like the best in the class. But I guess the most common brands is brands like Audient, Focusrite, PreSonus, AudioBox. These are like the sort of $70 to $120. And to be honest, for that sort of price range, they do a fantastic job, and many users just buy those boxes and have a great experience, you know. But if you've got like the cash like sitting in your pocket and you want something that is that little bit next level and better quality, then I guess brands like RME would be the way to go. Hey Thomas, are any of the 250 tones reused from your original Polychrome? So from the original Polychrome McRocklin suite, right? Polychrome is the brand. McRocklin suite was the first product, okay? So we were talking about this earlier. But no, none of the presets are from that. 312 tones. I know we had 250 tones on one of the videos, but it actually went up to 312 right before launch as we got more artists and more presets finished off. And every single tone is brand new, constructed from scratch for that. There was no exporting from one plugin. That wouldn't even be possible anyway, but there's no reusing presets in any way. Loads of people would love to see these amps for real. I mean, when you look at those plugins, sorry, those amps, I mean, yeah, they look beautiful. They would be amazing as amps, but I very much doubt that's ever going to happen. You know, like I just said, that for me is not the future. You know, very small, compact, but having that real amp-like feeling, that's the future, you know. Will the new Kiesel amps in Polychrome make Ola want to chug and rock faces off? I think it will. Yeah. Yeah, he loved the McRocklin suite, and he said he loved it for lead tones and cleans and ambient tones. And this does great cleans, amazing heavy tones, and the leads are great on this as well. But I think the riffage type of tones could be right up Ola's street. Hey Thomas, what is your role at Polychrome and how hard do you drive the programs to get these things sounded so good? Ian, it's a tough one, you know. I am the CEO of Polychrome at Polychrome DSP, and together with my partner Luca, you know, we handle a lot for Polychrome. But you know, we've got to give so much credit also to Luca, because he's such a talented guy and the best person you could possibly want to run a company like this alongside, you know. So meeting and getting to know Luca a couple of years back has been a real highlight, and his work is just endless, you know. He's such a talented guy, a great guy to be around with, and an excellent partner to run a company with as well. So yeah, but we both put in the hours, let's just say that. That is so true. That is very true. More jams at E flat now that the transpose exists, 100%. So guys, I'm going to turn off that mode, and now I'm back in all comments, and I'm going to scroll to back up to date. So if you have any questions, use Q:, but now I'm just back in the live chat here, okay? There's Luca. Yeah, hopefully you'll slip me a $5. Hey, Ian. All right, so let's jump back into it now that we've caught up on chat. And you know, I don't want to stream for too long today. You know, just want to give you guys an opportunity to throw some questions into the chat about HyperRig Kiesel. And if you've just tuned in and you're like, whoa, what the hell is HyperRig Kiesel? What is that? I thought Polychrome was Polychrome and McRocklin suite. What is it? Well, Polychrome DSP is the company, and our first product was the McRocklin suite. So Polychrome DSP, McRocklin suite, product number 1. And then we came out with Cry Boy, the Wah, and which was a sort of an anniversary celebration for our first year in business, if you like. But really the big follow-up product is HyperRig Kiesel. That's our second product. So to give you an overview, HyperRig Kiesel has 3 incredible amplifiers. Maple, which is a beautiful clean. It does very high headroom clean, edge of breakup, and then we get into carbon, which is a really great, it does lead as well as riffage, and then infusion, which is a little bit more mid-focused, and then we have the world's fastest transposer, Hypertune, that's included as well. And then we've got all 15 speaker chains with IR loading, room simulation, and filters, all that's included. And then 2 very versatile EQs, Shape EQ, which is great for pushing the amp, as well as a mastering EQ with totally different bands. And then we've got our effects, delays, and reverbs. And there's the pre-effects as well, you know, all your compressors, your overdrives, your boosts, all of that stuff is in there as well. So it's absolutely stacked. Okay. Does Luca play guitar or have a YouTube channel? That's a great question. So Luca does play guitar, but I don't think he posts on YouTube as a guitarist. Yeah. But yeah, he has a guitar in his hands quite a lot. In fact, Luca is getting an MCR6X actually very soon. Well, as long as it takes Kiesel to make one, so that will be coming as well. Slam and shreds, that is a question. Let's have a look at that. So the question is hey Thomas, congrats on the launch, thank you. Does the pitch shifter go up? That's a great example, because yeah, it absolutely does go up, and it goes up very cleanly. You know how I did a little test earlier where you could go down, and we compared it against other transposers. If you try, like, there's some presets where it does go up, but if we load a preset like very ambient, like Matrix, for example, let me just share this. Obviously, it depends what you want to do, but just going up a semitone. And it actually sounds very less robotic and Mickey Mouse-like versus also a lot of transposers. Okay, let's go for another question here from Sean. Through MIDI, is it possible, let me read it over here. Is it possible to have Hypertune go to a specific value with one press? Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that I'm going to do for the Shred Club streams, where maybe I want to play in D standard or C standard. I'm going to have different buttons taking it to different values. So that way, I mean, I really, really like the fact that you can save it as a preset and have certain presets like, okay, let's load Cyber, for example. That is down 12. And with a split, like, it's just so much fun. You know, you can save that as part of a preset. And if we go back to like 3 to 1 action. You could do it that way, but I'm going to actually do what you're thinking, and that's just have different buttons for like different tunings. So if I want to go like down 2, down 5, and down 7, I really like the sound of like lower tunings that would be the equivalent of like a 7-string, because you guys know I messed around with like the 8-string, and then the 7-string was on the cards, and honestly, because this feels so fast and it sounds so natural, I'm really like, do I really want to learn new muscle memory and stuff, you know? So I'm like, yeah. 2 octaves in distance, yeah. When you go up, some pitch shifters just sound pretty bad, you know, when you go up, But I think you'll really like the sound of hypertune if you need to go up. It's very natural. It's probably as natural as you'll ever get, you know, for going up in pitch, you know. That's cool, Slam. Thank you so much, mate. Yeah, so let me just show you a little bit about speakers and shaping tones. Like I said, I don't want to like jump on and, you know, we'll have plenty of time for full shreds and full songs and stuff, especially when my finger's in full working order again. Oh my gosh, Mike coming in and dropping 25 in the chat. I mean, we've got to give this guy a kebab and a horn. What a legend, mate. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you so much, mate. Wow. Man. That's very nice of you, man. Absolute legend. Always a pleasure to see you, and always good to hear from you as well. But yeah, very kind. Thank you. Oh, he's definitely trying to get me on the kebabs. You know, post-stream. I don't care what day it is. The super chat's coming in, and it's like, I think I'll spend that on kebabs. It's the best thing it can be spent on. Thank you again, mate. Legend. All right, before we wrap up, guys, I'm gonna just show you real quick, like when it comes to dialing in tones. Mike, you've got me tickled and laughing here now. So it's very, very easy to like dial in tones because it sounds so good just with everything at noon, you know. For example, you want a bit more gain, you sort that out, add a little bit more push. Guitar's a tiny bit out of tune, we could tune that up. A string's the most sharp it's been. E string's a bit sharp as well. Yeah, Jason, it's a totally separate product. Yeah, it's not something to do with the McRocklin suite. Totally separate. So when it comes to dialing in a great, let's say, crunch tone or a heavy riff tone, the first thing I would play with personally is just getting that gain balanced right. If you want more saturation than this, I mean, there's a lot of gain on tap on carbon. Obviously, you could go over to the drive, but I would approach it like this. If you want something that's a little bit more tight or a little bit more mid and, you know, lead focused, you know, the boost is great for that. It gives you a little bit more of a sort of pushed mid sound. Turn up the gate to compensate. Gives you that great smooth liquid feeling without even playing around with the knobs. In terms of bass, treble, and level. So boost is excellent for that. But if you want to start getting like, you know, really tight and nasty, I would tighten it up with the drive, or you could tighten it up with the amp switch and do that classic thing where you don't make the drive pedal overwork, you kind of use it to shape the front end a little bit. So you might want to have like a good amount of level, a little bit less gain, and then start working with that. And then if you find, because you're tightening up the tone, you're kind of cutting out some of the bottom end, that's why you could start compensating it with some more bass. I mean, that with wide. I mean, we haven't really gone into any of the speaker stuff there, and no EQ. And just by turning on drive, playing around with the sort of tightening settings, a little bit of bass, that's a hellish riff tone that you could just use on a record. And then you could play around with push, which sends more signal into the amplifier. So if we do that, pull down the volume of the master to compensate. So let's say you go to a speaker chain like that, and obviously it sounds a little bit more scooped. There's an interesting frequency thing going on there, and that might be the perfect speaker chain for your track. But you're thinking, hey, well, that might be a bit too scooped. How do we work with that? So we've chosen a speaker chain, and by the way, you can mix and match all the families on these speaker chains, which is super cool because now you have 15 possible options for every single amplifier, plus IR loading, which we didn't even talk about. But then you go in here and then you start to bring out some of the frequencies that you might want to add. Like, let's say some of that mid. And that's all it takes. Don't just go like heavy-handed, like applying loads of mid like that. Like, I mean, you could, but think about it like a producer, you know, it's very rare your mix engineer is going to go, right, we've got the guitar, where's the EQ? Whack, whack, whack. He's not going to do that. Trust me, it's going to be very gentle little curves, you know. Everything's just going to be pushed in certain directions. And that's the same for your tone, you know, like here we have 2 and 3 dB. But if we turn that off, you really hear that it's doing quite a lot to the tone. And it's the difference between like, oh, that riff tone works perfectly in this track, and maybe it's a little bit, you know, just needs more mid-bite. And from there, you could start to think about like, okay, let's shape some of the bottom end off, because for guitar tones and big tracks, your drummer's going wild, double kicks, bass player's got 8 strings, and he's going blah, 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 blah. You kind of don't want your guitar competing too much with that stuff. So you're going to shave off as much bass as you need, and then the same for the top end, you know? I mean, that's on Carbon, but Carbon is a great lead amp. You turn on reverb, delay. It's just like, it's very quick and very easy to get great sound and tones. And I think that's kind of like the magic of HyperRig Kiesel. You don't really need to be a genius at tone dialing. I mean, for one, you can just load one of the 312 presets, which will continue to grow. But you can get very good tones very, very quick. Okay. Let's catch up on the chat. What microphone options for the Kiesel? What microphone options? What do you mean? I mean, you could plug any microphone into it, you know, just plug it into your DAW or your standalone mode and sing through it. Imagine using HyperTune as with like down an octave. I have to try that on a live stream. In fact, you know what? We should try that right now. We should try HyperTune on a voice, on my voice. I won't get to hear this in the room, but I'm so intrigued to see you guys' reaction. So I have a mic channel here, obviously for my mic. Let me share this. So you're not getting the full sort of view of it. Let's share it like this. So it's actually my desktop that you're seeing. So right here I have my mic. It's going to go crazy at first because it's going to load with a guitar rig. So I'm going to, with a guitar amp. So I'm going to turn that off. And I've got my mic back on, but I don't have HyperRig turned on. So, sorry, HyperTune turned on. Let's turn it down. You ready?
Hey, check 1 2 check 1 2 check 1 2 check 1 2 check check check. Am I getting deeper? Is this working? Hey, hi, hey. You know me? You know me? It's working. Does it sound bad or does it sound good? I don't hear my mic in the room. What? You guys are laughing, so it must be good. Oh my god, I wish I could hear it. Is it too low? This is -7. Load up on my phone. Okay, okay. Okay, let me just load it. Oh my god. This. Get to the chopper. Everyone get to the chopper. Lower. Okay, let's go down -9. You guys, I want to thank you so much for just being such amazing guys.
Let's go up 7. Hello. 1, 2, check. This is up 7. I can tell I'm so hot in this room.
Okay, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Okay. This one is... The player's crashed over here, and I don't have it on my phone. Okay, let me get it on the phone. I'm so intrigued to see how this sounds. Oh my god. I don't have it still on, right? Why? I should have this. I should be able to find my own streams more easily. I'm not searching for myself often enough is the problem. Did it sound good? Oh, now I'm searching for McRocklin and all sorts of garbage. Where is it? Okay, we're in.
Alright, this is me down 7. How does that sound? This is me down 7. How does that sound? Okay. No, down 12. Wow, look at that.
That's crazy. Yeah, he was like double transposing. Oh, that's so funny. All right, I've got to delete it. Yeah. That's hilarious. All right, guys, let's jump real-time chat before I head out here. Sounds absolutely killer. Massive congrats to all behind the scenes. Is Hypertune coming to the McRocklin suite? Yes, it is, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, Matt, good to see you. Yeah, you could use that for just absolutely mega low. What's the highest? +12. +12. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I was still in sync. Yeah, no lag. Oh, it's flawless. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now we get it. Now we get it. Oh God. Ah. You're trying to get me in trouble. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So, any final questions? Let's hang around for another couple of minutes here. Otherwise, I'm gonna head off. McRocklin, can you use DSP stuff without a music program? Yes, Metal Gaming, you can use both our plugins as a standalone piece of software from your desktop. Run it without a recording software or anything like that. Absolutely fine. Yep, absolutely. I'm going to be back. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be back, but also I want to do a live stream with Luca. A lot of you guys have been like, hey, Luca is a genius. You are right, by the way. But he's also a very cool guy, and it'll be great. We've done a stream together before, but what I'm going to try and do is try and get myself, Luca, and perhaps Brandon, and anyone else from Kiesel that wants to hop on to a live stream, probably next week at some point. So if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, definitely subscribe for that. And that one probably won't be multi-stream. Today I just wanted to hop on and just answer any questions that people specifically had about HyperRig Kiesel. But we're going to do a stream together, and then once my finger, the bandage comes off, it's already like 80%, but as you've heard, like I can't bend it so good today because every time I try to play chords, it's just locked in place. So my finger in a couple of days should be 100%, and then I'll jump on and you'll see more videos using HyperRig Kiesel. But for now, don't forget, if you own McRocklin Suite, then visit the user area, ua.polychromedsp.com, and you'll have a My Offers section, and you can get a 20% discount on HyperRig Kiesel. If you own any Kiesel guitar, probably from, I don't know, like the last 10 years or more, You can also use your serial number from that guitar as a discount code for 20% off also on polychromdsp.com. You simply type in your serial number into the coupon code and it's as easy as that. So you've got 2 ways to get 20% off. Previous Polychrome customer, you've ordered McRocklin suite, use that. And then the other way is to use the serial number from your guitar. So the discounts are super cool. Nice touch. Thank you, mate. We try. Yeah. Any chance you'll do a demo with other older amp type of settings? Oh yeah, I will do lots of little clips of videos and I'll show you various tones in various ways with HyperRig Kiesel. Oh my gosh, that is a great idea. I love that idea. That would be so cool. I don't know if I'm going to do that right now, but I love that idea in general. I have not tried that. I've tried guitars tuned down into HyperRig Kiesel, such as like B standard, C standard, but not the Zeus acoustic. That would be so cool. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, maybe some rest time for a day or 2. But yeah, check it out. If you've got any questions and you want to know anything specifically, jump on the Discord. You know, we've got a cool Discord where you can come hang out. And Polychrome has its own Discord as well, which you can find on the Polychrome website. Or I think you can get it by polychromdsp.com/Discord. That'll take you there. So if you want to chat specifically Polychrome, but if you want to chat Polychrome and gear and everything else, then McRocklin.com/Discord, and we're there all the time. You can get an answer on pretty much everything. So yeah, we're due for a community hangout. That is so true. That could be the next move. Just a nice chilled Zoom chat with a cup of tea and coffee. So yeah, members videos on YouTube will be resuming, as well as the huge amount of work is slightly lifted just for a short period of time. But yeah, it's been awesome. And I'm so happy that we can finally show HyperRig Kiesel on screen and not trying to hide it from you guys all the time. So yeah, definitely another Zoom hangout very, very soon. So guys, thanks for joining. It's been a blast. Hopefully you got something useful out of it today. And like I say, we'll be doing more sort of smaller lives like this and lots of video clips and stuff soon. But for now, hope you love HyperRig Kiesel as much as we have enjoyed working on it. And just forget about everything that you've learned about tone dialing in and just start with the default tone, start with the speakers, a little bit of filtering, and then just build it out gradually. And I promise you, you'll get some of the best feeling, the best tones you've ever heard, period. Not out of just a plug-in, period. Out of any amp in the room, mic'd up with any recording chain, the tones in HyperRig Kiesel are absolutely insanely good. It's crazy. And I was doing some work with Calyx, as I mentioned, on a video on the YouTube channel members videos, and all the tones that I'll be using for the Calyx collaboration, we'll be using HyperRig Kiesel as well. It just instantly translates to records seamlessly. It's amazing. It's really cool. So hope you love it. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. We'll see you back here real soon. And yeah, sorry if I missed any questions, but you guys are great. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Cheers. Goodbye. There we go. Comment UR44 Steinberg. It's a great option. Yeah. Bye, everyone.